So, in addition to a seemingly daily stream of stories about Biden and his son Hunter and the alleged corruption they're both involved with, we have yet another story to add on to this list that just broke this week. According to new banking records obtained by the House Oversight Committee, the Biden family and its business associates received millions of dollars from oligarchs in Russia, Kazakhstan, and, you guessed it, Ukraine, while Joe Biden was vice president. Seems like a big deal, but surely this will fade away quickly with nothing more than another Trump indictment and a couple of come on, mans. So, Jim, let's have it. What do you have to say about Biden this week?
Well, yeah, I mean, I wanted to bring it up last week to kind of compare the lack of any accountability in either the media or especially our justice system with what's going on with the Biden crime family compared to them going after Trump. And I didn't quite get to all of it, but yeah, it seems like there's new revelations every couple of days about just how recklessly corrupt and rapaciously corrupt, as a friend I follow on Twitter, John Hayward, had put it. I think that's a perfect term. The Bidens are rapaciously corrupt. Megyn Kelly said on her show the other day, you can find that on YouTube. It's fantastic. She swears a lot now, now that she's not on Fox anymore. Still a very interesting show. She said the other day that this whole thing is not a case of Hunter Biden using his father to make money. It's a case of Joe Biden using his son to make money. In the infamous Hunter Biden laptop, which was always real and never Russian disinformation, despite the fact that the deep state conspired to get it out of the news when it could have affected the election in 2020. You might remember, if you've studied the stories about Hunter Biden's laptop, that he lamented in text messages to family members that he was sick and tired of being the money man for the family and giving half the stuff, half of his money to the old man. That was in the Hunter Biden laptop. There's no reason to believe that those text messages are fake. And I think Megyn Kelly has it exactly correct that Hunter Biden was not trying to make money off his dad. His dad was trying to make money by selling his influence through his son, Hunter Biden. Of the crime family, Hunter is Fredo. He's the dim-witted son you send out to Las Vegas to run some Mickey Mouse nightclub somewhere and then send the money back home. Joe Biden is the Don. The idea that he didn't have any idea what was going on here is absurd. It was only going on because he was directing it. Again, as Megyn Kelly said, this was a way for him to make money off his son, not the other way around. And for Democrats and the media, as more of this information, a lot of it testimony behind closed doors that the representatives in Congress come out and talk about later in the oversight hearings, the media, the spin right away was that Hunter wasn't selling access to his father and influence of his father to oligarchs in some of the worst countries on earth, like China and Ukraine, but that it was the illusion of access. No. When you can sit in a restaurant in Europe and brag to your friends, the people that your business partners who are giving you millions of dollars for doing nothing, for you have no expertise in business, let alone this particular businesses like energy that this business was supposedly about. You're sitting in a restaurant and say, you don't think I can get my old man on the phone? Watch this. And you put him on speakerphone repeatedly, at least 20 times, according to Devin Archer, Biden's American business partner. 20 times he got him on speakerphone in front of his oligarchs, who were then funneling money to, I don't know, was there 3 dozen shell companies that money was coming into from overseas, from China, from Romania, from Ukraine, and other places. It's absurd that our media just keeps running interference for this, but it's the truth. And this is what's really most depressing about this entire Biden crime family story. The corruption is actually rather crude, not very sophisticated, and frankly, kind of typical. You would expect this kind of corruption. It's the fact that the media and the government, from the FBI, federal prosecutors to the intelligence community, all of them were actively suppressing and thwarting any accountability for the Bidens on this. And you have to start to wonder, why is that? Maybe it's because this type of corruption is a lot more common than we might realize, and not just with the Biden family, But, we even had Politico in a now deleted tweet, I think yesterday, say that, yeah, sure. $20 million was deposited in a series of shell companies that the Biden family used as income, but there wasn't a direct check with Joe Biden's name on it. So that's where they are now. And it's actually, the way this story is developed reminds me of the way the late, great Andrew Breitbart used to handle scandals. And they would just drip a little bit at a time. And you get to defend the people trying to defend this corruption out there a little farther and farther and farther on that branch before you saw it off. Again, I compared it to bring it all the way back around to Trump. You guys might remember we played the clip last week of the celebrity saying that you can stop Donald Trump from being president by voting for somebody else in the Electoral College. And at the same time, they were also throwing out the emoluments clause of the Constitution, which nobody knows what it is probably. But it was the idea that Donald Trump shouldn't be president because he was profiting. He illegally profited because the Saudi government rented rooms at his hotel in Washington, D.C. or something. Like, you can't profit off your office. That's an impeachable offense and all that stuff. And here we have that was such a joke. And now here we have the Bidens getting literally millions of dollars of income in corrupt ways, if proven. And I think that the evidence is very, very strong. And, again, our system, our media, our government is doing nothing about it while sicking the full force of the law against Trump and everyone even remotely associated with him. So that's kind of depressing, but that's the world of politics and law that we live in right now.
Yeah, well, Chris, surely this isn't newsworthy, especially for the likes of CNN and MSNBC, right? I mean, not when they have a 3-year-old riot to talk about. I mean, that's certainly crowding any talk about this, right?
It's interesting because the day after some of the biggest leaks from the Biden crime family have been the day that Trump indictments have been announced. So obviously Jack Smith and some of these DAs like Alvin Bragg are working in cahoots to try to drop big bombshells in right on the cusp or right after the fact that these House committee hearings are producing very big circumstantial evidence that shows that Hunter and Joe definitely were in business together with foreign oligarchs. The Burisma thing, I think, is just like, it could not be more apparent. Joe goes to Ukraine and he says, unless you fire the prosecutor, we're not going to give you the $1 billion. He actually said that out loud at a foreign council relations, meeting or something right after the fact. So, yeah, there might not be smoking gun evidence as of yet, but there is a ton of circumstantial evidence. But like we saw with Hunter Biden and his sweetheart plea deal, it seems like the Justice Department is not interested. When Christopher Wray, the director of the FBI, went up to Congress a couple of weeks ago, Matt Gaetz asked him, "Are you interested in this?" And he basically just said flat out no. And even Matt Gaetz said, it seems like you're curiously not interested in this. So, yeah, there's a cover up. It's bad news for the American people, bad news for Donald Trump, and bad news for Donald Trump supporters. But this is the world we live in these days.
Yeah, no, it's pretty wild. And it's like a sad thing that I'm like basically like apathetic about it, because like there's so much of this stuff is coming out and it's just like, it's almost tiring to try to keep up with it. And then like, what am I supposed to do with this information? I mean, we can come on and talk about this on the podcast, but unless the people that actually have power to do anything about it, like we're just sitting here like wasting our breath. That's what it seems like. Justin, what's your take on all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the most frustrating part of the whole thing, is that it doesn't seem as though it is a fact that when politicians in the Democratic Party do things that are obviously illegal, there are rarely ever any negative repercussions for them beyond some negative media coverage that they get from right-wing press, which they get all the time anyway, and most people just ignore. So that's it. I mean, the biggest scandal in terms of the media attention and the impact politically and everything else that happened during the Trump administration, and there were many things that happened and that were alleged to have happened and whatever, but the thing that really sort of kicked off the big Russian collusion thing in a way that even a lot of Republicans were like, oh my gosh, like, I don't know, was when we found out that there had been supposedly meetings between Donald Trump Jr. and others in the Trump campaign at Trump Tower with people who were tied to Russian oligarchs. Like, that was the big thing. You even had Republican people, politicians in Congress, coming out saying, like, yeah, we really need to look into this and whatever. We found out later on that, nothing really came of that. And there was all sorts of really disturbing, weird things going on there as well. But that was the big thing, right? The big, gigantic scandal was, wow, it looks like these people met. There was no agreement. We all know that there's no one who's saying that any sort of dirty deal was made. But the fact that they even met with them at Trump Tower, like, that was enough. That was the idea. Here we have mountains more evidence than that. Just mountains more evidence than that. We actually have people going on the record saying, yeah, they were getting money. Yeah, Joe Biden knew what was going on. We have people who are, at the very least, saying, yeah, we were there. He was on the phone with the business partners while they were doing these deals. You have, and why is this question never asked? You have these foreign oligarchs, business people tied to the Chinese Communist Party, all of this stuff. They're handing mountains of cash over to this moron, right? This guy who's just a moron. He's a drug addict. He's into prostitutes. They know that. They know he's an idiot. Anyone who spends 5 minutes with this guy know he's an idiot. Okay. The guy is so smart that he leaves cocaine in the White House, right? So this is the kind of guy we're dealing with. Why wouldn't you think that these people, these super well-connected millionaires and billionaires, would make sure that the money that they're handing to this moron actually results in something? Like, don't you think that they would think that at the very least? Does anyone really think that they would just be persuaded by this guy just talking to them and saying, oh, I can do all these things for you, but then in reality, he literally never, ever, ever, ever delivers, not even a little bit? I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me at all. If these people are handing that much cash over to this guy and they're putting him on boards of directors of companies where he has no expertise and no business knowledge, no reason to be involved, that the people who are giving all this money to the Bidens in this case through shell companies, which I actually think tells you a lot. Why did they set up a bunch of shell companies if everything they're doing is above board? Like, what is even the point of that? They know that they're getting something out of it, or that there's a really good reason to believe it. They're not just basing it on some loose promise from Hunter Biden, which is how the New York Times and others are portraying all of this. And then even if you want to cling to that against all common sense and logic, like that's the situation, that, it was just Hunter. He made all this up. He tricked his dad to get on the phone a bunch of times. His dad didn't know who Hunter was with. It was all just, there's nothing to it at all. It was all just Hunter Biden, and that's all it is. And you have nothing else to worry about. And that's it, right? If that's the case, then is it just a coincidence that Joe Biden is bragging about removing Ukrainian prosecutors that were causing problems for these very same business partners that were handing money over to Hunter Biden? The argument the position you would have to take is, yeah, just a coincidence. Just a coincidence. That's all it is. Just a coincidence. There's nothing behind that. How about the fact that even recently, like, this is how stupid they all are. Even recently, you've got Hunter Biden selling hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of his garbage art to people who are getting garbage art, Donald. Garbage art. I'm taking a strong stand on that. And then what? They get appointed to commissions? Like, and that's not, how is that not obviously a scandal? I mean, right. This is it's insulting. It is insulting that they would actually think that anyone who looks into this would come to a conclusion other than this is corruption. Of course it's corruption. Are you kidding me? Like, this is the only reason they're taking this position is because they know that a certain segment of American society will never bother to look at the details. That's it. Anyone who actually looks at the details and believes, truly believes that Hunter Biden was doing this all on his own and Joe Biden got nothing for it or whatever, anyone who actually takes that position is stupid. They are stupid. No even moderately intelligent person would look at the facts and say, I don't think Joe Biden knew anything. And yeah, they got these shell companies. And yeah, there's all this tens of millions of dollars floating around. And yeah, the family's all involved and they're all benefiting from it. But Joe knew nothing. He knew nothing. Yeah, we've got emails that talk about 10% for the big guy. But yeah, but that's some other big guy. We don't know who that big guy is. Somebody else. It's like, you have to be stupid. And I just don't believe that anyone really is that stupid.
Jim, I think Justin is giving. Is he snorting the painting in that?
No. He paints by blowing it through his mouth.
Oh, okay. He really likes blowing. Sorry, blowing paint. So yeah, Justin or Jim, I think Justin gave you a run for your money when it comes to rants. In fact, I want to hear in the chat who did a better job ranting about this topic. Was it Jim or Justin? Let me hear you in the chat there. But Jim, I do want to move on to Bidenomics, but since this is the topic that you really wanted to talk about, I'll give you last words on this.
No, that's it. And I'd forgotten about the joke artwork scam that is just a way of money laundering. His artwork is objectively garbage. It's terrible. And I remember I saw a Twitter thread the other day where it compared Joe Biden's artwork and what it fetched to
Hunter Biden's artwork.
Pieces by Picasso and Cezanne and other classic masters of art. And he got $500,000 for one of his piece of garbage artworks, while Picasso went for like 250,000 or something like that. So and again, the media is we're supposed to believe, according to the media, that this is all fine. It's all in the up and up. Hey man, the guy's just a good artist. And that's what the market bears. I mean, it's absolutely absurd, and it's actually an insult to anybody who is a real artist to see that this is happening, because it's just a money laundering operation. I mean, the people who bought these, first of all, they try to keep it secret on who bought these pieces of art, but some of the names leaked out. And I did not see any pictures of people proudly displaying their artwork in their living room or in their foyer or anything like that. So yeah, if the Trump family was anywhere within 100 miles of this kind of corruption, the entire country would come to a screeching halt and stop, and there would be nothing but this talked about on media. And as Christine Laurel, who's one of our loyal watchers here on the podcast, noted, a lot of people have no idea any of this is even happening.
Sure.
The media will not cover this. And this is a thing from a notebook from last week that I meant to bring up and didn't. But according to a poll by AMAC, which is the conservative response to AARP, less than half of Americans even know about the Biden scandals, because the story is virtually absent from the pages of the Washington Post and New York Times, while CNN and MSNBC don't talk about it at all. So, it's kind of hard to save your country from corruption when half the country doesn't even know it's happening.
Right. Yeah, no doubt. This is my favorite picture of all time right here. Hunter Biden blowing on this art or whatever. I really feel like if you were to zoom that out, you would see that he's sitting at like a table with a bunch of like kindergartners that are all doing finger painting and stuff. But hey, that's just me.